Okay, so good day everyone. So we're from our group 1. With our discussion today is what is entrepreneurship in education? With our member, me myself Khalifa Bani Ose and my friend Ridwan Saputra and my friend Diva Aliana Fanza. So entrepreneurship in education is a concept that has different meanings and interpretation. It is not only about teaching students how to start a business, but about helping them create values for the others. This chapter discusses terminology, different perspective, competencies, debates, and comparison with other learning approaches. To understand this concept more deeply, each part will now be explained further by my friends. To Diva, time is yours.
Okay. In the first section, we would like to explain the terminology of entrepreneurship in education. When we talk about entrepreneurship in school or universities, we might think it has one clear meaning. However, according to the report by OECD written by Martin Lecuse, different countries actually use different terms, and each term reflects a slightly different focus. For example, in the United Kingdom, the term enterprise education is commonly used. This term does not mainly focus on building a company. Instead, it focuses on developing an entrepreneurial mindset. This includes skills such as creativity, initiative, responsibility, confidence, teamwork, and problem solving. So, here the emphasis is more on personal development on life skills. Meanwhile, in the United States, the term entrepreneurship education is more popular. This term is often associated with starting a business, creating a startup, and managing finances, and also understanding the markets. The focus is more economic and business oriented. Because of this term, the broader term entrepreneurial education is sometimes used as a unifying concept. This term includes the mindset, skills, and also the profit or opening a company. The core idea is actually about creating a value for the others. For example, students can create value by solving community problems, developing social projects, or creating the innovative ideas. So, in conclusion, understanding this different term helps us to see that entrepreneurship education is broader than just a business training. It is about shaping students into a proactive, creative, and value-creating individuals. Next is the wide and narrow views on entrepreneurship. The narrow view defines entrepreneurship mainly as starting and managing a business. And in this perspective, an entrepreneur is someone who creates a company and takes the financial risk and also aims to generate the profit. And success is usually measured in terms of revenue, growth, and market impact. This view is important because it, especially in economic context, however, it can be limiting if we apply it in the directly of their education, and not all students will become entrepreneurs in the business sense. On the other hand, the wide view defines entrepreneurship as a way of thinking and acting, which means it includes the creativity, initiative, innovation, problem solving, and also the ability to turn ideas into action. In this perspective, entrepreneurship is not limited to a business. A teacher, a social worker, or even a student can act entrepreneurially by identifying the problems and creating the solution. So in education, the wide view is more relevant. But as schools are not only preparing to future business owners, but also they preparing future citizens, professionalism, and also the leaders. Therefore, developing entrepreneurial competencies such as resilience, collaboration, critical thinking, and responsibility is more meaningful for all the students. If education only focuses on the narrow view, it may exclude students who are not interested in business. But if we use the wide view, entrepreneurship becomes inclusive and beneficial for everyone. So here I believe that education should adopt a wide perspective because it's super holistic student development and not just economic goals. So this is the last section. Oh, no. Okay, sorry. Okay, now we move to the educating about what for and through entrepreneurship. Here I will explain three approaches to teaching entrepreneurship. The first approach is teaching about entrepreneurship. This is the most traditional approach. When the student learn theoretical knowledge such as the definition of entrepreneurship, characteristic of the entrepreneurs, business models, and also the economic concepts. The focus is mainly on understanding ideas and the concept, while this approach builds knowledge, it does not always develop practical skills. The second is teaching for entrepreneurship to students to start a business. This approach prepares students to become entrepreneurs in the future, but students learn practical skills such as writing a business plans, conducting market research, managing finances, and also developing marketing strategies. It is more skill-oriented than the first approach, but it focuses on preparing students for future business activities. And the third approach is teaching through entrepreneurship. This is considered the most powerful and innovative approach, which means if only learning a theory or preparing for the future, students learn by actually creating value in a real situation. For example, students might design a project to solve a real communication problem, create a small product, organize an event, or develop a social campaign. And in this approach, entrepreneurship becomes a learning method, not just a subject. So the students experience uncertainty, teamwork, responsibility, and also get a real feedback. They reflect on their action and learn from both success and failure. So this learning by creating value process increases motivation because students see that their work has real impact. So it also promotes deep learning since the student connect the theory with real life experience. So here in my opinion, while teaching about and for entrepreneurship are still important, teaching through entrepreneurship is more transformative. It does not only teach students what entrepreneurship is, but also help them to become entrepreneurial in their mindset and action. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much, Diva. And then the next section will be explained by Ridwan.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. Now it's a section about value creation as the core of entrepreneurial education. This section focuses on a central concept of the entrepreneurship education, which is the value of the creation, and how the concept can improve the way the student learn in the educational setting. In section 1.4, the value, the report begins by highlighting the major issue. There is no single clear division of entrepreneurship education. Different educator institutions define it differently. Some only focus on the business creation, while the others just include the skills like the creativity or the innovation. Because of this lack of clarity, it becomes difficult to design the effective teaching method for the student. Because of this, Bruyat and Julian address this problem by introduce a process where individual interact with the environment to create value. This shifts the focus away from simply starting a business to the broader idea where creating something meaningful or useful for others. Now, what is value creation actually mean? Value can take many meaning like economic value, like earning money, social value, like helping a community, and a cultural value, like preserving tradition, and educational value, like improving knowledge. This means that the student do not need to start a company or to be entrepreneur. They just need to create something that can beneficial to the one of the four value. The report also emphasized that entrepreneurship is not a one-time action. Instead, it is a continuous process. It based on the interaction between the individual and the environment and the focus on the development. Learning value is one key idea that is learning value can happen at the same time. First, students learn by doing the activities. They gain knowledge through the experience, and they can reflect the action of the activity. This makes learning more active and engaging compared to the traditional lecture-based methods. This concept is also famous by John Dewey, who introduced the idea of learning by creating value. This means students learn best when they can work on the real life problem, they collaborate with others, and produce an outcome that matters beyond the classroom. The example of value creation in education, the students were organizing a school event, like creating a campaign for environmental awareness, and develop a small project that helps the community. In all these cases, students are not just learning theory, but they are also actively creating value. Next slide. In section 1.5, as explained why value creation is essential. It makes learning more meaningful, more engaging, more relevant to real life. To students can see the impact of their work, which increase the motivation, which develop skills. To this approach, students develop important skills such as creative innovation, problem-solving abilities, teamwork and communication, and self-confidence. These are often called entrepreneurship competence, and they are useful in many areas of life, and not just business. Beyond this skill, students also develop a mindset of entrepreneur. This includes being proactive, taking an initiative and communication, being comfortable and uncertain, and learning from the failure they just learned. Next slide. Next is about the debates around entrepreneurial education. In section 1.6, highlight the several challenges in applying this approach in schools. Some of the main highlighted challenges are: teachers may not be trained in this method, schools may lack the time to or resources for the student, and the traditional system more focused on the exam than practical learning. It can be difficult to assess the student performance in value creation activities. Because of this, the teacher role changed. Instead of only delivering the knowledge, teachers can become the facilitator, mentors, or the guide for the support to students in exploring ideas and creating values, rather than just giving them instruction. Now, to overcome this challenge, schools can provide teacher training, encourage our project-based learning, collaborate with communities or industry, and more flexible assessment methods. These steps can help integrate the value creation into education more effectively. So, in conclude, that entrepreneurship education should focus on value creation. Learning is most effective when it is active and more meaningful to other people. And despite the challenge, this approach can prepare students for real-world situation. By applying this idea, education can become more relevant and impactful in sociality. Thank you for your attention. Next is going to be explained by my friend.
Okay, and then I'm going to talk about comparing entrepreneurial education to the other pedagogical approaches. So, entrepreneurial education shares similarities with other active learning approaches like problem-based, project-based, and then service learning. But the entrepreneurial education has a unique features itself because it will emphasize creating real value for people outside the classroom. It focuses not only about solving problems but also on identifying opportunities. Students must interact with the real stakeholders, innovate, and face the real risks. These make the learning experience more meaningful and engaging. And next, I'm going to talk about future answer to the question, what is entrepreneurship in education? In the future, entrepreneurship in education needs greater clarity in terminology and definition to reduce confusion. The collaboration between researchers in entrepreneurship and education must be strengthened. New assessment strategies are also needed to evaluate value creation and entrepreneurial competences. Most importantly, entrepreneurship should be embedded across the curriculum rather than treated as a separate subject. And last, in conclusion, entrepreneurship in education is not limited to business creation. It is a broader concept centered on the value creation and the development of entrepreneurial competences. It connects closely with progressive pedagogical approaches and continues to evolve as the researchers seek clearer definition and better implementation strategies. Understanding this eight aspect helps us see that entrepreneurship in education is about empowering students to become proactive value creators in society. I think that is all from us. If there are any mistake, we apologize. Thank you so much.